Hello, everyone. Alec Gerhardt here, director and writer of Joker Rising, the fan film you guys all watched and enjoyed. And I just want to thank you for watching that and commenting on it and giving just advice and just kind of your opinion on it. I know there's a lot of opinions on it, and one of the most common things that I've seen coming up lately is what happened to the sequels, City with Two Faces, parts one and two. So I'd like to address that, address all you as to what happened with that, and then kind of answer some questions about the first film, and then the sequels, and then talk about one of our future films coming up and what we're trying to do here. So first off, I just want to say, first off, The City with Two Faces was not funded. We never got the funds to make that, and that was I think when I explain the story to you, you'll see why we needed some funds just to make this movie on our own. It was a much bigger film than Joker Rising. It was it was going to be filmed in a way kind of like a Pirates of the Caribbean one and two, and not the style. Another example, but what I mean by that is just that it was two films filmed at the same time, which make one big film basically. So like the Matrix sequels and something. So it was just basically a big idea split into two, and it was going to delve more into the Joker. But I'll get into the story of that in a little bit. First, I want to address some things with Joker Rising, kind of where that originated from. I guess initially it originated when I got the opportunity to work on, well, at least see how that fan film was made through a guy named Hassani Johnson who lived out here in Colton, and he made the fan film Grayson Earth 1, and he had a Batman suit. And I never thought about making a fan film before, but when I saw that, I kind of started thinking, oh, like maybe it'd be a good way to start making films to make a fan film. Then I left down to kind of a Mexico area to visit a friend who worked at a mission down there, and I started thinking about this idea I had one time about the Joker. It was just an image of the Joker kind of sitting in the back of like a SUV with a pistol, but he didn't have his makeup on yet, and I never really knew what that was until I started thinking about this whole fan film idea. And then it wasn't until I started listening to this song, which is, here, I'll play it for you. It's, what is it called? Lightning Crashes, I believe. Let me see if I have it. And it's by the band Live, I guess. Doesn't see how much you did the Joker, so then I just started thinking about it more. Then the other ideas started coming, like the criminal ideas, the kind of like the Goodfellas elements that came in later, and it just started all really coming together. And the main idea was that in the Dark Knight, it seemed that the Joker himself was not totally out of his mind. It seemed like he was almost putting on a front. Now I know that's kind of controversial within the canon elements of Joker. He's a psychopath, and there's a lot of people who disagree as to what he should be or how it should develop, or you shouldn't even know the origin of him. But I always thought it'd be interesting because that one scene in the Dark Knight where he comes in and talks to the mob bosses, and he says his plan about how he's going to kill like we kill the Batman and everything. But when he talks, there's one point where a guy says you're crazy. He says, "No, I'm not." And maybe he was just, saying that, no, I'm not, just even though he is. But I kind of took it like maybe he isn't totally. Obviously he's very smart, especially this character, he's darker. So I kind of went with that, like, well, what if he wasn't funny? What if he wasn't funny at first? Maybe he's a little off, but he wasn't like a funny person. And then that kind of came the whole thing, like, why so serious, and everything kind of started developing around that, like, what would push somebody who's absolutely not funny to become funny. And in this sense, it was kind of, be careful what you wish for. Like they always tell him, Croc and Oswald, they're always telling him, you should smile and stuff. Why are you so serious, kid? And that's where that all developed. And I just started thinking about it more and more. And like the major influence on this was one of my favorite comics. It was called Joker, and that brought it a little more. That had a Goodfellas element too. It has like a low-end criminal guy. He picks up the Joker from Arkham Asylum. He got released, and he starts running this whole thing of terror. But it has a narration, so that's a big element to it. Another influence would be obviously Goodfellas through the style, and then this movie called Shane, which doesn't have anything to do with the Joker, but it kind of used elements of that in the soundtrack a bit to do the style of the dramatic style, because that has a pretty good montage in the beginning and end about just how this guy lives, and I kind of used that for the transformation thing, and kind of did away with this Lightning Crashes song. Lightning crashes, mother cries. But it didn't make as much sense. So then we ended up making it. First we auditioned people, and we got Dylan Hobbs and Katie Young and Manuel Eduardo Ramirez, who plays Croc, he was already a part of it. He was a producer on it, and he wrote some scenes, and he helped me direct it quite a bit. And so once we got our cast together, we went out to San Bernardino, California, and made the film in 8 days on a guerrilla. It was a guerrilla film, so like a lot of this, there's a scene with when Black Mask comes out, and there's all these guys with guns, and then there's Batman himself up on the rafters. When we were filming that scene, the cops actually showed up in San Bernardino. And there was one cop that came in the back alley with an M4 ready. I mean, it was low ready, and then two cop cars came in from the front without their lights on. I guess just making sure we weren't actually there, as terrorists or something. And after this, obviously, there's been a terrorist attack in San Bernardino later, so it might be harder to pull that off now in that style. But so that's kind of how it went when we were making the film, and we learned a lot about making movies. Like, I didn't even know what I was doing with the exposure on that camera. I mean, I was still learning. I didn't even have white balance. If you have any questions about the first film, I'll answer any plot lines, anything. And I'm also going to put up the first film again, but I kind of tweaked it, some of the color correction, kind of learning, and try to make it look a little more cinematic. So that'll be up too. But it's the same film, but it has a little different look to it, a little more cinematic. But yes, and then after that, we tried to go into making the sequel. At first, we just called it Joker Rising, I think, trilogy. But that never, that first one, we didn't make the money on that one again. And then we tried it again, I think a couple months later with a teaser, which you can see on the website, where it shows Two-Face flipping the coin. And again, we were unsuccessful. We raised some money on Indiegogo to buy a Batman suit, and we did. I did spend it on the Batman suit, but I still yet to get the Batman suit from the person who was making it. But that's not why the film itself wasn't able to be made. The reason it wasn't able to be made was because obviously it needed funding. It's not the most expensive movie. Like the first one was made with only $3,000 out of pocket, but this one was going to be like at least triple that, just because of all the actors that we were going to need to pull off the film. And I'll show you that in a minute, what the film was going to be. So we didn't get the funding that time, and then again we tried it in 2015, at the end of 2015, going into 2016, and we started to raise some money as a Kickstarter. It wasn't going to be very much. We needed, I think, $6,000 was what our goal was. But again, we tried to advertise it, but then for me, I didn't focus on it enough because the attack happened, and my mother-in-law was kind of involved in that. I could have probably, if I was able to, focus on it more, maybe we would have been able to raise the money that time. And so since then, we kind of put it on the shelf. There's other people involved in it as well, and we might. I mean, I'm not sure if this will ever, we'll ever be able to make this film just by. I mean, just the financial thing is just kind of hard right now. Just I mean, we all got jobs and everything, obligations, family, just had a baby. So I'd like to kind of, so that it didn't get made, and so I'd like to kind of address that right now. The film, The City with Two Faces, the plot basically of the film. I'm not going to give you everything because it could still be made, but I guess I'd warn you that there might be some spoilers in this whole this video from here on. So The City with Two Faces takes place sometime after Joker Rising. I'm thinking maybe 6 months to a year after Joker Rising. Just to set it up, it is it's like a crime thriller. It's kind of like, it's a sequel. I mean, definitely to Joker Rising, but it focuses on some other characters initially. Again, we kind of do the same thing where we keep the villain in the backdrop for a good portion of the film. So it's, in a way, it's sort of like The Dark Knight in that sense, but it has another villain as its lead, and that is Two-Face initially, to begin with. And it's basically split between a Joker, Two-Face, and Batman. In this scenario, Two-Face was, the DA at one point, and him and Gordon and the Batman had a deal to work together to rid the Gotham of crime, but then something happened, and Two-Face was in a situation where he was basically, he got his face burned in some type of sting operation, and Batman didn't come to help or to dead. He realized that he can to fight crime from within better than he could from the outside, so he became this criminal leader, and he now is like the kingpin of Gotham. That's why you heard about Dent in Joker Rising, which kind of made it not a sequel, not a prequel to Dark Knight. It was just that little breadcrumb that led into this, and so now you have Harvey Dent, Two-Face, running the city, and his face is burned in this. So the film begins with a nightclub scene, and you hear a song. It's Now or Never by Elvis playing, and there's going to be somebody it's a nightclub, and there's somebody singing a song on the stage, but there's not very many people there playing in the music. or listening or dancing. And then it's Gilda, the wife of Harvey Dent, is sitting there talking with Dent, though we don't know it's Dent at first. And she's saying there's nobody out here, in this club, nobody's here. And then he says like, people are turning, they're not turning the product either. Like there's some type of thing where all the young people aren't really out in the city anymore. And so at this point, like a little goon comes up and tells one of Dent's guys, he comes up and tells him, Mr. Dent, there's a problem. And then at that point, you see him get up and he has see it's Two-Face for a second. And then then it cuts to Gordon's apartment, and then he gets a call. He's in bed with Barbara, his wife, and he gets a call, and it's another detective saying that there's something good's happened for once. And then he goes and he leaves, and then we cut to this warehouse, and you got Maroni and Carmine Falcone, and then even Gazzo from Metropolis coming in, and they're all meeting at this warehouse, and they're waiting for Dent. And they think he called this meeting, or each one thinks they called this meeting, and they're all talking about how something's been happening. These jokers, these guys have been killing off all their family members. A couple people from each family were killed. Let me see. You got Pino and Vidi, I believe. These guys were killed by these people, the sons of Falcone, or sons of Maroni. Carmine's daughter was killed. Sophia was killed by these people. These people that have they have the Joker makeup and they kill them with knives. And then also Gazzo and all the way in Metropolis had one of his family members killed by these people, and they described their stories about how these jokers, these people they don't know, are killing off all these lower end criminals and everything, and it's starting to become news. And so the Dent comes to the meeting, and they're asking him. He basically sets it up. He says, if you want my help with this, you have to give me 50% of your profits, 50% of your territory, and then you can, then I'll help him. And so reluctantly, all these guys agree, okay, we'll give you 50%. And then they tell him the stories about what's been going on with their families and how all these criminals have been killed. But during the scene, they start to realize that nobody called this meeting, not Dent, not Maroni, not Carmine, not Gazzo, and I go, shoot. And then all of a sudden, all these Joker guys start coming in, and it becomes a big battle shootout to get out of there. And at that point, the Joker comes in, and he introduces himself a little bit. You don't really see him, and he kills one of the mobsters, the Gazzo. I mean, it's a spoiler thing, so they kills him, and he basically says what he's here to do. And at the same time, while that's all going on, we see the detectives. You see Detective Driver, and you see Gordon and a couple others going through all these photos of these people that are killed, like Sophia and Gazzo, or Vidi. And then at the end, you see when we see Gazzo killed by the Joker, you see his picture go down. So this cop meeting is later, but we show it at the same time. And so then we see that the cops are celebrating. Great, all these criminals are being killed. But then Gordon goes outside, and he's kind of reluctant. And then a detective comes out, Bullock. So Driver is a younger detective. He's all excited about this. But then Bullock goes out and asks what's going on with your why'd you leave the party? And then Gordon's kind of saying he doesn't like what he sees in those pictures because it's brutality. You can't fight evil with evil, basically, is what he's thinking. And he doesn't think this is good. Whoever these jokers are killing all the criminals, it's not good for the city. And so Dent makes it out of that whole situation. And now we cut to this montage scene. And this is showing Batman, his life as Bruce Wayne. So he's kind of juggling. It's a typical thing. Alarm goes off. He wakes up. He's all, bruised up. And in this scene, Alfred's also here. And it's this whole montage of him trying to hunt down a serial killer. And that's Zsasz. We have him be more of a child molester, serial killer in this scenario. He keeps, leaving this trail of bloodshed of killing these girls. And nothing's being done. And Batman can't find him. And it's this whole, dramatic montage showing Batman's life and how he's putting everything into trying to find this girl. And then every time he finds a girl, she's dead, and there's even a scene where we have Batman actually tear up a bit just because he missed the girl. He wasn't there in time. But then, so all this is going on, and he finally gets to a spot where he may be. Somebody calls the police, and he hears it on his little intercom and says, Zsasz is at this apartment. And he goes to the apartment. He's all ready to find him, and he breaks in, and then Zsasz is there on his bed, but he's already dead. But he has a Joker makeup and all this stuff. And then all the police come in, and Dent and Batman talk about what's going on here, and they mention all these killings that are going on with this smiley face, and he's killing all these criminals. And then they look inside the room, and there's YouTube, like it's a computer setup on YouTube, and it shows it shows a video of Zsasz being tortured by the Joker himself, but he's off camera, and so yeah, that keeps going. And this video and he kills him, and it's really brutal. And he says, how long the Joker himself says, how long Gotham will you sit back and allow this filth to rise from the sewers and all this stuff? And for the last few months, Victor Zsasz has stalked these playgrounds. There's children, school children, and Victor Zsasz no longer looks so hot, and he basically kills him. So yeah, Joker kills him, and then they turn it off. And then, but they look down at the video, and the video has millions of views already. So a lot of people have been watching this, and then we cut to all these people in the city, like all over the world, just putting, like celebrating this, like showing each other this video, and celebrating the Joker, and just debating whether it's good or not that he's doing this. And a lot of people are saying this is a good thing. He's killing all the criminals, and so that's how that goes. And then you see like a teenager make a Facebook page for the Joker, and shirts and stuff being made. And then it cuts to the Batcave, and Alfred and Bruce, talking about how bad this looks. And then the next scene's Gordon and the mayor talking. The mayor's basically saying, for political gain, he's going to pardon the Joker and make people happy. And Gordon thinks it's a terrible idea and warns him. And then we have a scene where Gordon goes to Dent to try to get a deal to where Dent, using his criminal abilities, will, he's going to fight. He wants him to deal with this Joker character, who's a murderer, and who's killing all the criminals, but he's still doing it nonetheless. And Dent still has hard feelings about what happened. How he feels he was betrayed by Dent and Batman, but then he kind of reluctantly agrees. And he says, Gordon asks, "Who are you going to get to go after him?" And he says, "Victor." Okay, that's going to be the Victor Freeze in this scenario. And so then we cut to this hospital, and Victor, Iceman, something we call him. He's wearing sunglasses. He's kind of like in the denim and stuff, and he's looking at his wife, she's dying of cancer in this hospital, and then Dent, says she's beautiful. And then, but they're in Gotham Hospital, and he says he can move her to Metropolis, which has better hospitals, if he'll just do this one last job for him, And then Victor basically says, "You get me to someone who's seen this clown, and I'll put him on ice, put the Joker on ice." So then we cut to this back alley, and the Riddler, he's out there smoking, and then these Jokers he come out and say, "Hey, it's time, to come back in, stop smoke break," and they bring him in, and then it cuts to this big scene, and the Joker, he's in this big open warehouse, and there's all these people dressed like the Joker and everything, and people in the middle. There's this guy Tommy and Marcus, and they're fighting each other kind of like a Fight Club to be a part of this gang, and it's brutal, just beating each other up. And then Marcus, I believe, Tommy gets Marcus in a place where he can kill him, but he refuses to kill him, and the Joker Joker's sitting in this chair watching. That's where we first see the Joker for real, and he says, "Bravo, gentlemen, a powerful performance." He says, "Only I'm a bit confused about your final act. Isn't someone supposed to take the prize? Doesn't there have to be a winner? Here we're all waiting on pins and needles for a grand finale of suddenly nothing. Instead, the noble knight drops his sword and throws mercy to the villain." So basically, Tommy was going to kill this guy, but he didn't. And then Tommy says, "I couldn't do it, boss. I know Marcus. We came from the same block. His mother's friends of mine." And then Joker says, "I'm sure, of course." And then Joker says, "Well, Marcus, my boy, you look like you could use a few Band-Aids." And so they gets him up. And then at this point, Joker gives his whole spiel, and he starts taking Tommy, and he starts messing with Tommy, who showed mercy, and he gets him by the neck eventually while he gives his whole speech. And he cracks his neck in front of everybody, showing his power and showing how you have to be a dog-eat-dog in the city to survive. It's kill or be killed, blood for blood. Or actually, before he says kill or be killed, and then he looks at the Riddler, who's basically a slave now, and says blood for blood, and cracks the neck, which is an allude back to something that happened in the Joker film. So when that happens, Riddler goes back outside, distraught, shaking his head, "I can't believe this." And then these two Joker goons are following him, and he's like, "Take me to a bar because, people will wonder why I'm not around." So they, I guess they kind of follow him to a bar, and as they're going there, those two guys are, shot dead by silencers from a car, and Dent pulls up and starts talking to the Riddler, and the Riddler starts talking about what the heck's going on in the city, and he's learned their kind of little relationship, and Dent says, "Okay, why don't you meet, all the crime bosses are going to meet on this building, this parking structure at this one point, and basically setting up where Victor Freeze is going to be." waiting for them. So he set it up, and then Riddler comes back to the Joker and he says, there's gonna be this big meeting here of all these crime bosses of Carmine and Baroni, and so that's a place we could kill him. And the Joker, says it's an opportunity, and they start. All these Joker people start getting ready to go fight, and they go to the top of the parking structure, and that's where Maroni, Dent, and Carmine are, and they're waiting, and they're being the live bait for all these Jokers that are going to come, and eventually they get to the Jokers get there, and they start coming to the parking structure, and they're all conversing, and then all of a sudden they start getting taken out left and right from this darkness, and that's where Victor Freeze is like sniping them. Victor Freeze is kind of like the Anton Chigurh character in this film, like just like No Country for Old Men. So he's like sniping all these guys, and they're all getting scared, and they run off. They drive off, and as they're driving, Victor walks all the way over to the side of the parking structure and starts shooting down at them as their car's leaving to the just to go back to home to the Joker, and then so that happens, and then we see the Joker. Joker, is disappointed about this, and I think it basically sets up it's gonna happen. We have to get him to come to us, type of thing. And he has a plan already. He knew that this was going to happen. He just wanted to know how bad, like who they were going to send after him. So now that he figured out it's Victor Freeze, then he starts coming up with his own plan. And he starts seeing this big scheme, and then we take it back and we go to Dent's office, where at this point Dent actually, during that whole shootout on top of the parking structure, Dent actually got the Riddler himself, and they drove off. So he has Riddler in his possession, and Riddler wants protection. And Dent kind of promises it, but he doesn't really care. Riddler's kind of just used this whole movie, and so then they come up with this whole plan about Riddler's explains this whole thing, and then Dent doesn't really offer protection much, and then there's this fancy restaurant scene, and it shows Bruce Wayne kind of in a restaurant, really depressed, and he's sitting next to in front of his girlfriend Vicky, who's kind of worried about him, and then he sees like a person at the next table with a Joker shirt, and how celebrating how great the Joker is, and he's depressed, and he gives him a stink eye, basically. Like, he's pissed that Joker's getting all this glory for saving people when he was the hero this whole time. And then he's in his car, and he hears that the mayor's going to pardon the Joker, and he just turns it off. And basically Bruce isn't acting himself. And then we go to Dent's house, and Gilda's there, and she's all about money, and she loves the life that they live, and she just wants things to stay the way they are. So he made a deal with the Joker. He also made a deal. He didn't make a deal with the Joker. He made a deal with Gordon to take out the Joker. So he's just waiting. He has a plan too, how he's going to take out the Joker. Now he's going to go to because he has the Riddler. The Riddler told him that where the Joker's lair is, and it's in the Luthor building. There's like this abandoned Lex Luthor building, and that's where the Joker's all held up with all his people, and all the kids go. And there's parties there, and there's it's basically like a Fight Club type thing, breeding an army down there, and getting advice from the Joker. So he knows about that, and Victor's about to head there now while Dent's getting ready. And right now, Dent gets a call at his house, and it's Victor in front of the Luthor building, just looking out, and he says, "This is the last job." Dent says, "This is the last job, Victor. You have my word or two." And Victor says, "Just make sure you get a cleaning crew. This place is going to be a mess," basically alluding to what he's going to do at this Luthor building. And so he goes down, he starts going in, and then we cut back to Dent, and he just got done taking a shower, and he comes out, and he asks for Gilda, and she's not answering, so he goes in the hallway, and then Joker comes up on his side and points a pistol on the side of his ear, and he says, "I hate to be on your bad side," a little pun, when he's on his bad side, and then Dent asks how, and then Joker said, "I think you're going to need to sit down for this." Basically, now you see that Joker has outsmarted them again, and we see in the Luthor building, that Mr. Freeze is coming down, and Mr. Freeze at this point has put the Joker makeup on himself to blend in as he's coming down these stairs, going down to this basement thing in Dent's living room. Joker's talking about the time, and then he's talking about what's happening. He's explaining that Victor's coming down, so he knows what's going on at the moment, and he's coming down, and then it's what's going to happen. He's going to die, and there's a surprise waiting for him. And when he comes in there, he's coming up. He's going to come up to go shoot the back of Joker. He thinks Joker's in the chair, and he turns, and it's actually, I believe, it's that guy Gary from the first movie. His name is Gary Sugarman. He plays that really creepy bum guy that laughs and loves all the cocaine at the end of Joker Rising. He's in the chair instead with the wig and everything, and they outsmarted him. And then Victor says, "I'm sorry, Nora," his wife. And then he turns, and all the Jokers are pointing guns at him, and he fight. He tries to raise his gun, but he's shot down, dead. So the Joker outsmarted him, and then the Joker basically says, you made now you made it. He makes a deal with him, and he says he wants to get to basically Joker. He's trying to get to Batman. This whole thing. He says, "Oh, Harvey, you used to work for the Bat, right? You never happened to see his face, right? Oh, that's right. You and Gordon was always the closest to him. So trying to get to Dent. Oh, basically, Joker says to call off all your assassins now, and you can live, but you have to call off everything. But really, he doesn't really care about Dent. He cares about Batman. He just wants to get to Batman. It's seen later, and then we see Batman on the rooftop. He's just looking out like with binoculars, and he looks and he sees the Joker for some reason, like looking at him with binoculars too. And they look down, and then he looks back, and then Joker's not there. And then Batman goes to the top of the police, or he sees the Bat Citadel, and he goes to the top of the police station, and then Maroni and Carmine are there with Gordon, and they're like, okay, Batman, it's getting so bad, we need your help to get rid of this menace, this Joker guy who's killing off all the criminals. We want things to go back to the way they were when you fight us, you beat us up and stuff, but we don't want to be killed like this. And so then the next thing he goes away and he's like, where are you going? And Batman says, I need to get help. And then at this point he goes into this like kind of Hannibal Lecter scenario. The guy's in the middle of the room working out, really buff guy, with gray hair at this point, kind of Argentinian guy, and it's somebody who broke his back previously, so it's obviously Bane, but we don't know that until later. And he's talking about how, he's basically the Hannibal Lecter character to giving Batman advice about like what's going on here, about how kind of gives him a villain's point of view as to what the Joker's doing, and basically says that it's. He basically warns Batman that he has to show Gotham the hero he really is, and it's not let the Joker get all the glory because he's not a hero, he's a killer, he's a murderer. But so if Batman does it somehow to show that he's truly a hero, then maybe he can win the soul of Gotham, basically. And then Gordon, he works out of the gym, he gets all his frustrations out in this punchy bed, he goes home, and then Joker's sitting there on a couch with his wife, and basically he's there to kill Gordon and his wife because they made a deal with Dent, and they say they made a deal with the devil and turned on the Batman. The Joker's kind of has this weird thing, obsession with the Batman in this one, which is kind of built up in the first film where he idolizes the Batman. He thinks he's a hero. He wants people to love him as much as he loves him. So in a heroic sense. So he doesn't like that Gordon turned on Batman and went with the criminalist Dent to try to kill the Joker. So then he actually kills Barbara right from him, and it's kind of an homage to The Killing Joke a little bit, but this is Barbara, his wife. And then it cuts to, then he shoots Gordon in the head. It was like a crazy wound, but it knocks him out. He's still alive. And there's a hospital scene where it shows Batman and, or Dent first, looking down, like shaking his head at what happened, like looking down at Gordon's body, and then Batman comes to the room and they talk. And then Harvey Dent says, you never trusted me like you did him. And then Batman kind of sighs and he looks away and he takes off his mask and shows him his face and says, can you help me? Basically saying, this is all I have. I need you to help me. And then he's left there to think. And then Batman goes in the hallway and this detective comes up, the young detective Driver comes up and he says, there you are, Batman, you know how hard it's been, to try to find you ever since the commissioner's been shot. And then Batman says, what is it, detective? He says, I know where the Joker is. So they meet up in front of the Luthor building, and Driver leads him into the Luthor building to meet up with the Joker's gang, and go fight him. And then as he goes in there, Driver kind of runs off, and he's left alone. He goes in this big room, and it's all empty, where Mr. Freeze died, this big Joker room. And then as he's in there, he walks up to Joker's chair, and he sees... He walks up to Joker's lair, and at the same time we show Dent in his bar feeling defeated. In his club, and there's people dancing and stuff, and Gilda's like, "You want to dance?" And they start dancing. At the same time, we see Batman come in, and he sees Batman. There's a letter in the middle of the chair, and he opens it and it says, "Ha ha, joke's on you, Bruce, ha ha ha," or whatever. And then all these Jokers start coming in with pipes and stuff to fight him, and as Dent's dancing with his wife in the club, we hear this, song. It was going to be "Only Fools Rush In" initially, and it just shows Batman getting, fighting on his best, shooting his boomer, like his, what's that shooting like that zipline thing right into people and grappling hook. against, shooting people. Like it hits the guy and he flies against the wall, bloody, and just this brutal fight where Batman's all bloody, more so than you've ever seen in like any Batman film, just completely beat up. And he's trying, he's still doing good-ish, but he's getting hit on so many points. And then at the same time in Dent's bar, all these Jokers are starting to come in from the crowd and coming on him, and Dent pulls out his pistol and starts shooting them, and it's like slow motion action on both sides, and basically Batman is beat to a pulp. And at the same time, there's people like live streaming it, like some of the Jokers online, and people all over the city are seeing it. The Batman, and then at this point, Joker comes out from the crowd where Batman's at, and he's there. He's defeated. He thinks he's defeated Batman, and he takes off his mask. He beats up, and he raises it high and everything, and everybody can see the whole world because it's being live streamed. And then Bruce thinks for a second. He's just totally beat up, but then at the end he starts to rise, and he rises up to fight the Joker, and he's all bloody, but it's Bruce now with the Batman uniform on, and then Joker turns and smiles because now he knows the Batman's the real hero he meant to be, and we see all these people's reactions all throughout the city and everything, and then that's when we cut, and that's the first City with Two Faces Part 1. That's where it ends right there. So then you get into City with Two Faces Part 2, and this is where it's different. It starts with an opening in Harley's apartment from before, the same apartment from where Joker Rising, and they're talking. They're playing Truth or Dare, and basically, Cyrus doesn't want to play Truth or Dare and everything, and then he's like, Truth. Cyrus asks Harley, "Are you happy?" And she says, "Of course, I'm here with you, silly." And then it starts like, "I said the truth," and then sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. Just all this stuff about how she's kind of, pretending to be happy, but she's really not, only when she's with him. And then she asks him, "Tell me the truth." Harley asks him that, and she asks him, "Can we be honest with you?" Okay, and he doesn't want to do it, but it's anyways. She asks him, "I want to know the things you hold inside, the things that you don't tell anyone. Tell me who you are, your story, where you grew up." And he says, "Boring." And she says, "I don't care, I want to know all of it." And he sighs or whatever, and he's like, "Okay, I was born in Gotham just like the next guy. I grew up in a middle-class home with a loving father and mother." Now he's actually lying to her here. While he's saying all this stuff, we see what is actually happening. What's happening, it shows him this dilapidated apartment in the 80s, and it's his mother's, she's smoking cigarettes, and his dad is, his dad's like a deadbeat, he's all nervous, and his father puts a gun in the back of his pants before he leaves, arguing with his mom, so he's a criminal, we know that. And Cyrus's bedroom, his mother sets him up on his bed and makes him cover his eyes because she's got a present, and she says, "No peeking." And his mother pulls something out of his purse, and Cyrus looks, and hands a Superman action figure. And he looks at it with curious eyes, and she asks him if he likes it, and he's just really mesmerized by the Superman figure. Then it cuts to later, Cyrus is flying a Superman action figure through the house, and then his father comes and snatches it up and says, "That's not, why are you playing with this crap?" Superman throws it against the wall, and then he says, "Let me show you something better," and he takes him out shooting, shows him a gun and takes him out shooting, and they shoot some cannons. His dad's a little abusive, kind of hits him in the back of the head, gives a jerk to his son, Cyrus. And then we cut to the childhood apartment, and he's, where he's at, and Cyrus stands there expressionless, watching his father, screaming at his mother again, and the mother's crying, and he asks what's wrong, and then he leaves. He has to go do a job the dad does, and then the mother says this to him, which kind of goes into his whole psyche about superheroes, and Cyrus comes over, kind of trying to fly the Superman towards his mom action figure to kind of cheer her up, and she says to him, "You promised me you'll never end up like him," his dad. "You gotta treat people like they're somebody, even if they ain't. You promised me you'll be a hero like him," referencing the Superman action figure. And Cyrus's dad says they don't exist, and she looks at him saddened and says, "He's wrong, Cyrus. They do exist. You think he's just a toy? No, son. He flies around saving innocent people every day, and he's just one of them. There's many more. There's cartoons and toys are just cheap imitations of the real thing. Someday you'll see one, and maybe if you treat people right, you'll even be one. Anything's possible, but it's got to be up to you. You got to choose to do the right, just like he does every day," referencing the figure, and he kind of, he looks down at the figure. Now, in this scenario and this universe, Superman is not necessarily real in this universe, but she's just saying that to kind of bolster his imagination. It's kind of like Santa Claus. You don't want to tell the kid, Santa's fake. You want to give him some hope because he's in this terrible situation with his terrible father. So then it cuts to later, and Cyrus, it still shows Cyrus in the future telling partly this fake story, but we're seeing the real story. And we see Cyrus playing in his bedroom with all these superhero figures. You got Green Lantern and Aquaman, and all basically the Justice League. And then he puts up like a villain character, and he looks at that, and he's kind of curious about that character. And then the dad comes back all nervous, and he's like, "What went wrong?" And he's like looking for something, and he looks under this bed, Cyrus's bed, and there's all the money. He's like, "Okay." And then all of a sudden these goons walk in. These like Russian mobsters come in and say, "We're gonna," he sets the dad down, and Cyrus goes under the bed and hides. And they don't know Cyrus is there. And he has the mother. He starts torturing the dad, saying, "Give us the money." And he said, "Oh, we'll kill your wife." And the dad doesn't give up the money, and then they kill Cyrus's mom. And so Cyrus goes nuts. And he's kind of under his bed, but there's a goon facing this way, so he can see the back of the gun. And basically, what happens? Cyrus runs out from the bed, pulls the gun from the goon. His dad just taught him how to shoot. And he said, he holds the Russians, and they're like, "What the heck? What's this kid doing? Put the gun down, kid. Don't be stupid. Your dad just got your mom killed. It wasn't us." So then Cyrus goes nuts, and he shoots the mobsters, he kills them all. And then his dad's like, happy, but then he shoots his father. So he kills his dad for basically killing his mom, and then he walks up to his mom and sees her dead there, and then it cuts, and then I think he looks down at the Superman action figure again, and then it cuts to the ending of the Two Faces Part 1, where Bruce Wayne rose up as Batman all bloody and beat up, and it zooms out from Joker's eyes looking at that all memorized. So now we see why he is so into superheroes, is because his childhood ringing up, why that had such an impact, because he saw a superhero just like his mom said to cheer him up. So then it cuts back to this whole scene of them, Joker boxing around with Batman, kind of messing with him, and then Batman kind of gets out of the situation, throws like the smoke bombs, and gets out of the situation, and Joker's all impressed with that. Wow, what a hero! Like he was able to do this, and then it cuts to basically Batman runs out of in the back alley, he's running from all these Jokers, and then he falls, and he's basically almost passing out dead, and then this priest comes out, and he takes him takes him in the church for safekeeping, and then Batman's out for a couple days, and he wakes up in the middle of the sanctuary being fed and taken care of by this priest, and the priest fills him in that Joker, when this whole thing about how when the mayor pardoned him, the Joker said that you had a real hero, but instead you trusted me, and then he kills everybody at this whole pardoning conference thing, and he even kills the mayor in front of everybody. He takes over the whole city, and it all happened. He started killing all the cops, and there's even a video of him kind of ISIS style killing cops on video, trying to get to the Batman to come back, and fight him or to see him again. So Batman asks the pastor if he can use lethal force Christian-wise, like in the Bible. Is it is there anything? Does God have anything against using lethal force? And the father says, there's times when it has to, there's situations where you have to use force. And Batman thinks about it, so that's starting to kind of go in his mind. And then also we know that Wayne Manor's been burned to the ground, and also Alfred has been captured. We knew that from a previous scene. I'm sorry I didn't mention that. And now we have that. And then so Bruce leave, okay, and then it cuts to Dent's living room, and Gilda's getting ready. They're going to move away to Metropolis, and she's all excited. But you can see Dent's kind of disappointed because he sees all the stuff that he's helped cause, and he's kind of starting to he's starting to come back to who he was as a good man, fighting crime. But it's working his head, and it's slow. And Joker goes to visit Bane to try to get his loyalty, but Bane basically said that he only fights the head honcho, like the leader. Like when Batman was in his prime, he wanted to fight him, but then when Joker's like, "Why don't you work for me? We can go mess with the Batman together." But the Bane's like, "Aren't you the head honcho now?" So basically, they invites him to fight him right there, because Bane wants to fight him now because he's the new guy that's like the lead of the city. And so, Joker doesn't let him out, but they have a kind of humorous exchange. And then we cut to his back alley, and Batman's in the back alley. He basically doesn't have all his gear anymore. He has his like Batman stuff, but I think he got his mask back too, but he's he cuts some torn up cloth and straps, like he has kitchen knives. He puts them on his hand, kind of like the Predator almost, and ties it around with like some cloth. And then he has like two short pipes. He puts some handles on with like duct tape, and just has two pipes. And then we see this parking structure, and the whole city is like taken over by Jokers, just killing people left and right, whoever they think is evil, or whatever, just people running amok, killing everybody. The whole city is like taken over, and these Jokers, these four guys, come up driving this parking structure, and they stop and they see Batman standing there with the knives and stuff, and they're like, this can't be him. And then they go up and they're like, they're gonna get him, and they tie him up, and then they do it, and like Batman goes down to his knees, like just pretending like he's, and then he looks at him, and then oh no, and then Batman actually stabs and fights like in a brutal way and actually kills these guys, and that's the first time. But he's reluctant to do it. It's gotten so bad that he's kind of forced into this situation. Now that's what we can do with these fan films because basically we can do things that Hollywood would never do in these, and that's why I think it's good to make them. You can look at these as just look at it as like graphic novels. Like a lot of the graphic novels are like that Joker one I was talking about is different than like another canon one. You know, like all these are kind of like separate things. It could be the same with movies. I see, and like everybody's interpretation of this. I think that's fine. That's what we could do in fan films for sure. So Batman kills all these people, and I think he leaves one kind of alive, and the guy crawls away. And this Joker guy tells the actual Joker that Batman. Oh no! In that scene too, where Batman beats someone up and he picks up a gun and shoots somebody, and then the guy who survived that's like, Batman used a gun, and Joker's all pissed because he's like, that couldn't happen at all, and Joker would never do that, and he actually kills his goon for saying that the Batman would use guns. And then there's another scene where Batman's girlfriend and a couple coworkers from her, she's a news reporter in this, and it's Vicky, and they leave. They're trying to escape Gotham, and they put the Joker makeup on to escape. And they're trying to leave. They get captured by these Joker goons. They're going to kill them for living such a high life. And as they're doing it, Batman, you hear all this gunfire. Batman comes up and saves her. She's the only one. The other people are killed by these Jokers. And they meet at the apartment, and Batman, tells her he loves her but he's getting ready to go out and fight, and he has all these guns now. He goes to the hospital where Gordon's at, and it's all taken over by Jokers, and they're painting like Joker makeup and making fun of Gordon, and he's kind of wakes up and everything, and then he hears all this gunfire in the hallway, and he gets up and he goes out, and he sees all these dead people, and Batman's there with guns, and Gordon's really confused, and he just hands him a gun and says, let's go, and there's no time to explain all this, and then so they leave, and Batman goes back to where Bane's at, he kills his guard, his Jokers that are guarding him, and then he breaks Bane out, and Bane's like really surprised that he's using guns, and then it's like, Batman's, you gonna help us take these clowns down or what? To Bane, and he's like, told you wouldn't be able to go on, without breaking a rule forever. This one's gone too far even for you. Talking about the Joker, and then Gordon's like, for God's sake, you with us or not? Here's your stuff, and he gives him his stuff, from when he was arrested. And Bane starts going through it, and he says, I'll help you on one condition. And they look at him, and he's like, I get to wear my mask as well. And then Bane pulls out his mask, his typical Bane mask, whatever we were going to make it look like. And then the next scene is Dent. They're driving in a car with his wife, and they're going towards Metropolis, and then he says, stop. And his wife's like, what are you doing? Look, they'll kill us, we have to leave. And she says, want to live the high life in Metropolis, and then, you're not for me, lady. And then he turns and he starts walking back towards Gotham because he wants to save his city. And the Joker, basically, Dent goes back to the city, and we see a scene where these two Jokers are going to kill this woman with a knife, and he comes up and he says, he flips this coin, and like, are you guys going to live or die? And he flips this coin and then shoots the Jokers there and frees the woman, and she thanks him. So he kind of gets that hero vibe for a second. And then it cuts to the back alley of the Luthor building, and basically Dent sees Riddler there again smoking, still a slave, and he frees him too. And then Riddler comes with them, and they're in this like warehouse where Bane, I guess, had a secret warehouse, and there's all these guns in there. And Gordon's looking around, what the heck was this? And basically, there's even a security camera there that looks into the prison cell he was in. So Bane was already planning an escape, and he had outsiders, I guess, helping him, and he has this whole lair. But now Bane goes back to that footage and sees the footage of him killing, the goons that were around Bane's thing. And then Bane says, you can use this will destroy the clown, because he idolizes Batman. But to see him kill would kind of diminish Batman as a hero to him. So they're like, who are we going to have to send this? And they all look to Riddler again, who's been just jerked around this whole film just by everybody used. Oh, great. And then they give him this DVD of the thing, and then they takes it to the Joker. And they watch it, and Joker watches and sees Batman kill people, and then he's completely depressed. And then Riddler just realizes Joker doesn't care about him anymore. He just walks out of there that time. And the next scene is them kind of riddles, and Bane and all these guys. He's saying that it worked, and they're preparing. For they're gonna wait it out for a bit and preparing to go against the clown at the place. And the Joker, we have this kind of montage of him all depressed. He sits in his throne. He has there's no shirt on, and they show him beating up his own guys in a Fight Club type scenario. And then it shows the Bane and them planning out how they're going to take the Luther building and kind of gearing up with guns. And they even get riddles like, you better prove yourself with this. You've been nothing but scum. And he's like, all right, he doesn't want to. He's reluctant, but he's going to fight with them. And kind of more the humorous role. And then in the parking structure, we see these Joker guys, these goons talking because the Joker's now like beating people to death to take out his aggression in this Fight Club thing. And the goons are like, he's insane. And then they look at this video, which shows the footage of Batman standing up when they all beat him up in the warehouse earlier. And they see that's a real hero. And then they're like, okay, they kind of take off their Joker makeup. We see them take off, and they put on the Batman makeup, and they become the Sons of Batman, which is like from the Dark Knight Returns. So you see that. So then you see people. Now you see they get on the news and they say, hey, we're trying to redeem ourselves, Batman. If you're out there, we want to do good now. We messed up. We went with the Joker. We were wrong. And then you see them like beating up all these Jokers throughout the city, these new Sons of Batman. And then at some point, we see the Joker go up to the Batman symbol and shoot it out because he's so depressed that he thinks Batman's turned from his ways. And then they look up in the sky, and there's like hundreds of bat signals all throughout the city because these Sons of Batman started to put them on there. And then they basically, at this point, you see Riddler, Dent, Gordon, and Batman and Bane all geared up, and they're ready to go to the Luther building. They walk the street kind of like on a Western, and you see all these dead Joker people around, and then all the Sons of Batman join them. Kind of like in Joker Rising when all the homeless people join the Joker, and then seeing all these people, Batman people join Batman. They go to the Luther building, and then they go to the top floor, and they start working their way down, fighting all these Jokers, and everybody's set up to fight. And Bane just going crazy, like he puts like some adrenaline in him, and he starts fighting these guys and breaking necks. He raises this guy up. The cracker's back. He's all shot, and he dies. Like he falls back on himself. And the Riddler actually kind of proves himself by trying to kind of fight those guys and kind of save him. And then Bane says basically you kind of prove yourself a little bit. And then Batman starts working his way down all the way back to the basement where Joker's sitting in his chair looking at that Superman action figure he had when he was a kid. And Batman comes up and he's all depressed. And he's about to shoot the Joker, and the Joker's like shows how depressed he is. Like you were a hero. I thought you said you would never break this rule. And then Batman thinks about it and drops his gun. And he says, "All right, then let's go." And the Joker kind of gets happy again. He takes off his coat and starts going around for the boxing match. And all the while they're all fighting and just talking about the Joker's having a time of his life fighting this hero. And then these other Joker goons run in and they blow Batman away and shoot him, and he falls back and dies. Batman dies in this story. It's a fan film. You can do whatever you want, and Batman is killed right then and there, and Joker looks back all depressed. He goes nuts, and he kills his goons, and then he sees that there's nothing left in his life, so he puts it to his head, but there's no bullets. And he tries to pull the trigger, and he screams, and he just sits there down depressed next to Batman, and then Dent and Gordon and Riddler, they come down and they see him, and Alfred is actually in there too. He's all tied up because the captain hit him earlier, and a couple other police guys are tied up, and they free them. And then so they're like, what are we going to do? This is the hero. And so they carry him out. The police, I don't think, actually, sorry, they don't carry him out. So then, they talk about how he was a hero and everything. And then some of the people leave, but then it's just Alfred and Dent in there, in the room with Batman's body. And Dent says, what will we do now, basically, is actually Alfred says that, what are we going to do now? And then in that scene is when, there's a key scene, and Dent says, he was a symbol against corruption beyond any influence, a true servant of justice. And he said, he lives on basically as a symbol, and we see it's kind of starting to get into a montage. We see a funeral, and then we see the scene where sometime later, like, this mugger robs a girl's purse and just runs off, and we see that. And then all of a sudden, we see that he's being chased by some figure, kind of like it's Batman again. He keeps running, and we see that actually Dent was good on his word for Nora, for Victor's Frieza's wife, that she's being moved to Metropolis. He still lives up to that. And then we see, you start seeing these news reports that Batman's back and stuff. And also, Joker was captured. He wasn't killed in the story. He's taken to Arkham Asylum, of course. And then he's like, then Alfred asks Dent, what do we do now? And then Dent said, you were always by his side since the beginning. You saw him bear so much for the city's burdens. And Alfred said, I did. At times it was more than I could stand to witness. And Dent says, could you do it again? Asking Alfred. They look at each other, and then Dent says, could you teach me to fight? And then Alfred says, it will not be easy, painful at times. It's something that we have earlier in the story, but he told Bruce. And then Dent says, pain, I can handle. And then we see the Batcave, Alfred, and because Alfred in the story is a little bit more like an ex-special forces guy, so he's training him, and he's like, like fighting with him, and kicks him down, and is that the best you got, laddie? And then we come back to that back alley where that guy with the purse is running, the Batman's coming after him. And then eventually you see Vicky on the TV, like amazed that she's reporting that the Batman's back, and he beat up this mugger, and he said that there was a Batman who did it. The mugger said that, and then Riddler's in the bar, and he does a big toast to and like that's something to toast to. And you see the back alley, they're running, and then he runs in the back alley, and he looks back, and we see Harvey Dent there with the Joker. With his mangled face, but he's the full Batman now. So Harvey Dent becomes Batman in this story, and it's him with the Two-Face, but he's Batman now, and he's fighting crime. So he's taking up the mantle of what Bruce Wayne had and become good again. And then the last scene was this cutting to the insane asylum, which this is a scene I was maybe put in or not, but it shows a new psychiatrist coming in, and this officer, like, she comes into the front desk, and like the officer at the front desk is like, I don't know why you keep wasting your time with that one. He hasn't spoken in months. And it's Dr. Harleen Quinzel. She says, curiosity, I guess. Yeah, well, curiosity did to the cat. And then she said, I'll be careful. And then she walks in there, and he's not talking. It's, Cyrus, I guess, there with the Joker thing. Not with, he still has the cuts on his face, and he's looking down. And then she says, well, maybe you'll have more to say the next time. Oh, before I forget. And she pulls out a newspaper thing, and it has, she slides it over to him. And he said, I don't know if you hear much news in here, but I thought I'd pick this up for you. I think you might find it interesting. He slides it forward, and he says, what do you think, Mr. J? And it's a picture of, it says The Dark Knight Strikes Again, and it has, basically a picture of the sighting of Batman and him, beating up this mugger. And then the Joker gives a sadistic smile, and that's how that was going to end. Like this whole thing's going to continue again, only has Harvey Dent being the Batman. But yeah, that would have been the whole thing. And you can see how big that story is, but it was doable. It would just take a couple $1,000s, to be honest. But for now, I guess, like, for our future films, because the biggest thing for us is funding. So what we've done now is we're going to release a film that we made between Joker Rising and Coming Up with the City with Two Faces, and it's called Where Birds Don't Fly. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that film, but I have a new version of it, and it's released on Amazon right now. And if you go to this link, you can either rent or buy it, or if you have Prime, you can watch it for free. If you'd like to watch that film, you can watch it there, and we'd really appreciate it. And any funding to that will help us make future films in the future. Hopefully, this at some point. But so any help you can do with that, and if you watch it, maybe you could give it a review on IMDb or Amazon itself, positive or not. We don't mind. But just wanted to give you guys an update. This was not able to be accomplished because of funding, but I wanted to just hopefully you got kind of bounced all over the place and forgot details and tried to refill. But hope you got the information how big and cool this. I think this would have been a very good film, especially as a sequel to Joker Rising. But I just thank you guys again, and thank you for watching everything. And if you have any more questions that I didn't address for the Joker Rising, City with Two Faces, why things didn't happen, feel free to ask in the comments section. I just pray you guys keep watching, and just hope you have a good day, and thank you.
Her daughters and her were having, I guess, a girls' night. She went out for about 10 minutes down the road for some popcorn. Another 15 minutes back, she made it to this.
Whoever we're looking for is getting way too bold. That's 3 homicides in 2 weeks. Each one after another. We're changing MOs. It's not just thinking anymore. He's out looking for his next fix, like a crack addict.
I'm not seeing shit, am I?
No. You're not.